She thought he was just a drifter, until he returned as her boss with a lesson she'd never forget. The scorching sun beat down on the cracked asphalt of the dealership lot in Stockton, California. The rows of cars shimmered under the relentless heat, their glossy exteriors masking the financial struggles beneath. Inside the cramped office, Alana Hensley, the new manager, adjusted the collar of her crisp blazer. She was 38, sharp-eyed, and determined to make her mark. Alana had been brought in as the dealership's last hope, a no-nonsense leader to clean up the mess that years of poor management had left behind. Alana wasn't here to make friends. The dealership's finances were bleeding, and she wasn't about to let her career sink with it. She'd already implemented strict sales quotas and cut back on lenient policies that let customers wander without committing to a purchase. Her latest mission? To rid the lot of loiterers. To her, they weren't just harmless onlookers. They were distractions, taking up space and wasting time. If she was going to save this place, she needed discipline. That day, as Alana looked out the window, she noticed an older man meandering through the lot. His faded denim jacket and scuffed boots stood out against the polished surroundings. He moved slowly, almost thoughtfully, as if he wasn't in a hurry to leave. Alana's lips tightened. "Who does he think he is?" she muttered under her breath. This wasn't the first time she'd seen someone like him. To her, he was just another drifter with nothing better to do than waste her team's time. Without a second thought, she grabbed her sunglasses and stormed outside, heels clicking against the pavement. "Excuse me," she called out sharply, her tone cutting through the heavy afternoon air. The man turned slowly, his weathered face framed by a mess of silver hair. He gave her a faint smile but said nothing. "Can I help you with something? We don't allow browsing here unless you're planning to make a purchase," Alana said, her voice firm, almost rehearsed. The man tilted his head as if her words amused him. "Just looking," he replied calmly, his voice deep and measured. "Well, we're not a museum," Alana snapped. "If you're not buying, I'll have to ask you to leave." For a moment, the man stood there, studying her with eyes that seemed far too knowing. Then, without a word, he turned and walked away, his boots crunching softly against the gravel as he exited the lot. Alana watched him go, a small sense of satisfaction washing over her. One less distraction, she thought, brushing her hands off as if she'd just handled an inconvenience. But little did she know, this wasn't the last she'd see of him. And the next time, it wouldn't be on her terms. The following morning, Alana arrived at the dealership feeling confident. She'd spent the evening reviewing spreadsheets and planning strategies to boost sales. She even envisioned herself as the savior of the dealership, turning a dying business into a success story. But beneath her determination, there was a faint sense of unease she couldn't quite shake. Something about the older man from the day before lingered in her mind, though she refused to dwell on it. As the day progressed, Alana made her usual rounds, ensuring that every employee was on task. She barked orders at the sales team, adjusted price tags on display vehicles, and even berated a junior employee for allowing a potential customer to leave without securing a deposit. "We can't afford to lose sales," she snapped. Midway through the morning, she noticed a small gathering near the entrance of the lot. Curious and slightly annoyed, she stepped outside to investigate. There he was again, the older man. This time he wasn't alone. Flanking him were two sharply dressed individuals, a woman in a tailored navy suit and a man with a clipboard. Both exuded authority, their presence commanding attention from the staff and even a few passing customers. The older man stood at the center, his demeanor as calm as before, but his eyes seemed sharper now, almost assessing the scene before him. Alana's stomach twisted. She didn't like surprises, and this certainly qualified. Masking her discomfort, she strode toward them, her heels clicking with purpose. "Excuse me," she began, her tone clipped but polite. "Can I help you with something?" The woman in the suit turned to face her, offering a professional but tight-lipped smile. "We're here for a review of the property. I'm sure Mr. Eastwood can explain the rest." The name didn't register immediately, but Alana's focus shifted to the older man, who now seemed far less ordinary. "I believe we met yesterday," he said, his voice calm but laced with something she couldn't quite place. Amusement, maybe? I'm Clint Eastwood, and this lot, well, it belongs to me now. For a moment, Alana stood frozen, her mind racing to process what she'd just heard. Clint Eastwood. The Clint Eastwood. The name finally clicked, hitting her like a ton of bricks. Her composure cracked. Wait. You're the new owner? She stammered, her voice barely above a whisper. That's right, he said, his tone unwavering. His eyes locked onto hers, and for the first time she realized just how much power he held in this moment. But the gravity of her mistake hadn't fully sunk in yet, and when it did, it would be too late to undo the damage. The air felt heavier as Clint Eastwood's name reverberated in Alana's mind. The man standing before her wasn't just another wanderer or someone killing time. He was a living legend, an icon, and now her boss. Her throat tightened as she replayed their interaction from the previous day, realizing just how badly she had misstepped. Clint didn't seem angry, though. If anything, there was a faint glimmer of amusement in his eyes. It was the look of someone who had seen far more than anyone else in the room and didn't need to raise his voice to make an impact. I didn't know, Alana managed to say, her voice faltering. If I'd known who you were. Would it have made a difference? Clint interrupted, his tone even but sharp enough to cut through her excuse. Alana opened her mouth to respond but quickly shut it again. He was right, and she knew it. Judging people by appearances was a habit she'd never questioned until now. The executives exchanged subtle glances, their expressions unreadable, but the tension in the air was palpable. Finally, the woman in the navy suit broke the silence. Mr. Eastwood wanted to visit unannounced yesterday to see how things are run here. He believes it's the best way to assess a business's true character. The words hit Alana like a slap. Clint hadn't been wandering aimlessly. He'd been observing, watching how she managed the lot. And she'd failed his unspoken test in the worst way possible. I was only trying to, she began, but Clint held up a hand, silencing her. I'm not interested in excuses, he said firmly. I care about how people are treated here, customers, staff, everyone. Respect doesn't cost a dime, but it's worth everything. Remember that. Alana's face burned with shame, her mind spinning with the weight of his words. Around her, the employees were silent, likely wondering what would happen next. But Clint wasn't done yet, and the lesson he was about to teach her would leave an unforgettable mark. Clint Eastwood took a step forward, his calm presence somehow commanding more authority than if he had raised his voice. Alana felt rooted to the spot, every fiber of her being aware of the employees watching, the executive standing by, and the weight of her mistake hanging in the air. I've been around long enough to know that how you treat people matters more than the numbers on a spreadsheet, Clint said, his voice steady but purposeful. This dealership isn't just about selling cars. It's about building trust and creating an environment where people feel valued, whether they're buying or just looking. Alana glanced at the sales team gathered near the entrance. Some avoided her eyes, others looked at her with quiet judgment. She'd prided herself on being tough, no-nonsense, the one who would whip this place into shape. But now, under Clint's scrutiny, her approach felt cold and transactional, like she'd missed the point entirely. Clint turned to address the group. Yesterday, I walked this lot, looked at these cars, and watched how things operate here. And what I saw told me more about this place than any quarterly report ever could. I saw fear. I saw people too worried about making a mistake to feel proud of what they do. His words cut deep, not just for Alana but for the entire staff. A nervous murmur rippled through the group. Clint's eyes landed on Alana again, sharp but not unkind. When leadership is about intimidation, it trickles down. Customers feel it, employees feel it, and no business survives on fear. Alana's shoulders sagged under the weight of his words. She wanted to defend herself, to explain that her tough approach was born from desperation to save the dealership. But deep down, she knew he was right. She'd made fear her strategy, and it had backfired spectacularly. The woman in the navy suit stepped in, her tone professional but with a subtle edge. "Mr. Eastwood values integrity above all else. That's why this dealership is under his name now. We're here to fix what's broken, and that starts with ensuring the right leadership is in place." Alana's stomach dropped. Was this it? Had she blown her shot completely? "I can do better," she blurted, her voice cracking slightly. "I've made mistakes, but I can fix them. I can show you I'm capable of leading this team the right way." Clint studied her for a long moment, his expression unreadable. Then finally, he spoke. "Everyone deserves a second chance. But make no mistake, this is your only one. Prove to me you understand what respect means, and maybe you'll stay in that chair a little longer." But respect wasn't just a word. It was a choice, one she'd have to make every single day from this point forward. The tension in the room began to dissipate, but Alana's nerves didn't. Clint's words echoed in her mind as she walked back to her office. She shut the door quietly behind her, leaning against it for a moment as if to collect her thoughts. A second chance. The words felt heavier than she'd imagined. She knew what was at stake, not just her job, but the livelihoods of the staff who relied on her leadership. For the rest of the day, she observed the dealership with fresh eyes. She watched how her employees interacted with customers and each other. The truth was unavoidable. Clint was right. The team was operating on eggshells, too afraid to step out of line. Conversations were curt, smiles forced, and even the sales felt like transactions devoid of trust. The weight of her approach hit her like a freight train. She hadn't built a team. She'd built a house of cards, ready to collapse at the first strong gust. That evening, Alana stayed late, drafting a plan to turn things around. It wasn't about numbers anymore. It was about creating an atmosphere where people felt valued, where customers wanted to stay and browse without the pressure to buy immediately. By morning, she called an all-staff meeting. The employees shuffled in, their faces wary. No one knew what to expect after the previous day's drama. Alana stood in front of them, her usual sharp demeanor replaced by something softer. She cleared her throat. "I owe all of you an apology," she began, her voice steady but carrying the weight of sincerity. "I've been running this place the wrong way. I put too much pressure on all of you, and I've created an environment where fear runs the show. That's not leadership, and it's not fair to you or our customers." A few eyebrows raised. Some of the employees exchanged glances. But Alana pressed on. "I want to change that," she said. "Starting today, we're focusing on what really matters. Respect. For each other, and for the people who walk through our doors. This is a fresh start for all of us." The room was silent for a moment. Then a lone clap broke out from the back of the room. It was Derek, one of the junior sales associates. Slowly, the rest of the team joined in, their applause tentative but genuine. Alana felt a spark of hope for the first time in weeks. But rebuilding trust wasn't going to happen overnight. It would take action, consistency, and a willingness to prove she meant every word. Over the next few weeks, Alana threw herself into the work of rebuilding trust, not just with her team, but with the customers who had become wary of the dealership's pushy tactics. Her first move was simple but impactful. She abolished the unspoken rule that discouraged browsing without commitment. "Let them look," she told the sales team during a morning meeting. "We're here to guide them, not pressure them. If someone wants to walk the lot for an hour, we let them. If they leave without buying, that's okay. The goal is to make them feel welcome enough to come back." It was a small change, but the effect was immediate. Customers lingered longer, conversations felt more genuine, and the team began to relax. Alana didn't stop there. She took time to sit down with each employee individually, asking about their experiences, challenges, and ideas for improvement. At first, the meetings were met with skepticism. Some employees spoke cautiously, as if waiting for a trap. But Alana listened, really listened, and it wasn't long before the walls started coming down. One afternoon, Derek, the junior associate, approached her after a sale. "I just wanted to say, thanks," he said awkwardly. "Things feel different around here. Better." Alana smiled. "That's the idea, Derek. Keep up the good work. But the real test came when Clint Eastwood returned unannounced one sunny Thursday afternoon. He strolled through the lot much like he had that first day, observing everything. Alana spotted him immediately, her heart skipping a beat. She didn't rush to him, though. She let him walk, she let him see. When Clint finally approached the showroom, he gave her a slight nod, his eyes scanning the lot behind him. "Not bad," he said simply. It wasn't much, but from Clint Eastwood, it was practically a standing ovation. But Clint wasn't here just to observe. He had one last surprise up his sleeve that would test everything Alana had learned. As Clint Eastwood stepped into the showroom, the usual hum of activity seemed to quiet. Employees glanced his way, their expressions a mix of awe and curiosity. Alana approached him with a composed demeanor, though her heart raced. She'd been working tirelessly to turn the dealership around, but Clint's approval still felt like the ultimate benchmark. "Mr. Eastwood," she greeted him warmly, extending a hand. "It's good to see you again." Clint shook her hand with a firm grip, his gaze steady. "Likewise. I've been hearing some good things, but I like to see for myself." Alana nodded. "I think you'll notice some changes since your last visit." Clint didn't respond immediately. Instead, he motioned toward the lot. "Walk with me." They stepped outside, the late afternoon sun casting long shadows across the neatly arranged rows of cars. As they walked, Clint asked pointed questions about the changes Alana had implemented. She explained her new approach to customer interactions, her efforts to empower the sales team, and her focus on creating a welcoming environment. Clint listened intently, his face giving little away. When they reached the far end of the lot, he paused near a sleek black sedan. "Sounds like you've made some progress," he said. "But leadership isn't just about fixing problems. It's about seeing opportunities others might miss." Alana furrowed her brow, unsure where he was going. Clint gestured toward a man standing near the entrance, a young father with a toddler in tow. The man looked hesitant, as if debating whether to approach. "Let's see how you handle this," Clint said, his tone light, but his eyes sharp. Alana hesitated for only a moment before walking toward the man. She noticed the way he clutched his car keys nervously, the toddler tugging on his hand. "Hi there," she greeted him with a warm smile. "Can I help you find something?" The man looked surprised but relaxed slightly at her friendly tone. I was just looking. I'm not sure if I'm ready to buy yet." "No problem at all," Alana said. "Take your time. If you have any questions, I'm happy to help." The man glanced at the toddler, who was now trying to climb onto a nearby bench. "Honestly, I'm looking for something reliable but affordable. My old car gave out, and it's been tough getting around with her." Alana nodded, her expression empathetic. "I understand. Let's take a look at a few options that might work for you. No pressure. Just let me know what you think." As they talked, Alana noticed Clint watching from a distance, his expression unreadable. She guided the man through a few models, offering practical advice without pushing for a sale. By the end of their conversation, the man smiled. "Thanks for your help," he said. "I'll think about it and come back soon." "I'll be here," Alana replied genuinely. As the man walked away, Clint approached her. "That's what I wanted to see," he said. "You didn't just sell him a car, you earned his trust. That's the kind of leadership this place needs." Alana felt a weight lift from her shoulders. It wasn't just Clint's approval, it was the realization that she had finally understood what it meant to lead with respect and humanity. But Clint wasn't quite done yet, and his next words would leave her speechless. As the sun dipped lower, casting a golden glow over the lot, Clint Eastwood leaned against one of the cars, his gaze fixed on Alana. She stood there, still absorbing his words, a mix of relief and determination swelling within her. "You've come a long way," Clint said after a moment. "But this isn't just about you. A leader's legacy is the impact they leave behind. This dealership will thrive if you keep showing people they matter. That includes your team." Alana nodded, her voice steady. "I understand. I won't take this second chance for granted." Clint gave her a rare, approving smile. "Good. Because I believe people can change if they're willing to do the work. He glanced toward the entrance where the young father and his toddler had exited moments ago. It's not about being perfect, it's about being real. He straightened up, brushing invisible dust off his jacket. Now I've got other places to be, but I'll be watching. Don't let me down, Alana. With that, he walked away, leaving her standing in the warm light of the evening. She watched him go, feeling a strange mix of pride and humility. Clint Eastwood had given her a second chance, not just to save the dealership, but to reshape herself as a leader and a person. Inside, the team was abuzz. Word had spread quickly about her interaction with Clint and the lesson he'd imparted. For the first time in weeks, the tension had lifted, replaced with a cautious optimism. Alana called another meeting the following morning. Standing before her employees, she spoke with newfound clarity. I know this place has been through a lot, she began, and I know I haven't made things easy. But I'm committed to making this dealership a place we're all proud to be part of. Together we can turn this into something great, something that reflects the respect we show each other and our customers. The applause this time was louder, more confident. The team believed her now, not because of the words she spoke, but because of the actions they'd seen. Over the months that followed, the dealership began to thrive. Customers returned, employees grew more confident, and Alana herself became a leader others wanted to follow. And though Clint Eastwood never announced his next visit, she always had the sense he was keeping an eye on things. Because sometimes the biggest changes come not from dramatic acts, but from the quiet decisions to do better every single day. Life has a way of throwing unexpected lessons our way. It's not about the mistakes we make, it's about how we choose to grow from them. If this story resonated with you, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more inspiring tales. And remember, respect doesn't cost a thing, but its impact is priceless.